Hi, this is Roger Frick with the Indiana Association of United Ways. Thanks for joining us for a brief video on best campaign practices. We're in another segment called Have a Plan. If you're going to raise new money and renew money in your community, you have to have a plan to engage and enlist volunteers, to proceed and know what you're doing, where the money is. Essentially, the plan for any campaign is A, where is the money, and how are we going to attract it to United Way? And so as we think about creating a campaign plan for our community, this is about some strategies, some being real about where our prospects are. And so one of the things we want to emphasize is that campaign increases are the product of direct effort. Rarely do campaign increases just happen. When we plan on miracles and surprises, that's a pretty weak plan. That's not to say we don't get some surprises from places that respond better than we anticipate. But generally, when we're looking for campaign growth and we're looking for new prospects, we need a plan about where that's going to be, where we're going to invest effort. And so one of the things we always want to encourage you to think about is think about where is the money, where are the prospects, where are people we can talk to in order to solicit them and to seek their support and their engagement in United Way. And so the first thing we want you to look at is where is the potential in our community. Not all past non-donors are potential. Sure, they're not giving, but sometimes there's a reason why they're not giving. And do we know why they haven't given in the past? Do we know why a company has not run a United Way campaign? Because if we don't know that, it's hard to put them in our plan. Just because there have been people and businesses that have not responded before, unless we know some sense of why that is, we don't know what we can do to cause them to respond this year. And so it's important to think through and to look at our prospects in a real way, and maybe this year there is somebody involved in our campaign and our leadership who knows somebody who can make a difference and have some communication we have not been able to have before. That's real energy and effort invested in engaging them in the campaign. And so that can be a part of our plan. When you're thinking about planning for the campaign, in the last segment we talked about schedules and structures. One of the things to build into that is the priority of our work is to renew last year's givers first. In anybody's fundraising course, always they're going to tell you the best prospect is a prior donor. And so our prospects for this year's campaign is to renew last year's donors. And so that's the first part of our campaign plan. How are we going to go to those places that have contributed in the past and those individual donors and invite them to renew their gift or to increase their giving for this year's campaign? One of the great things about building that into our plan is those prior donors are normally the easiest. And so it gives us a chance to develop our campaign muscles, to develop our community stories, because those folks have a basic awareness from prior giving, and they're the folks that are easiest for us to talk to and work with this year. Another critical element for us to do is always remember and put the biggest donors at the top of the list, because clearly the energy and effort we spend to renew big donors, or even if they're big donor prospects, to go to those folks first gives us the greatest results for our efforts. And so that's a part of our plan. Where can we invest effort for the greatest return? And so assessing prospects is really important. We have a lot of United Ways who will always start off with, there are all these small businesses who have never given to United Way, and so let's put on a big push and go get them to give. And I always encourage you to give that real thought. How much do you hope they can give? If you're looking at a group of folks who are going to give you $25 and $50, that's valuable, but that may not belong in your first effort. You need to put the first effort amongst folks that can provide hundreds or thousands of dollars towards your campaign. The other thing about establishing new accounts or prior non-donor groups is to look at how can we create a relationship with those folks. Just merely going and making our case and asking them to give probably isn't enough. And so what can we do? How can we communicate? Who knows who? That we can create a relationship that maybe allows us to get our foot in the door this year for future development and increasing in that campaign because of the relationship we've created and the opportunity to engage them in our campaign. One of the ways to help create relationships is for us to be generous with favors and thanks to new donors and prospects. And so when we can find ways to introduce them to people, to engage them in organized ways with United Way, to help them be better connected with the community, and when we can be effusive with our thanks to those folks, as the example setting, as someone who didn't give before and has given now, so that we can provide recognition. That helps create that relationship that we can build on out into the future. One of the few things I suggest to all United Way staff and the key volunteers is to know from memory your top 10 accounts. Know who the top 10 company donors are in your community. Maybe know the top 10 individual leadership donors, so that you understand, and when you're thinking about talking about donors, you have some people in mind, and you know when you get phone calls, those are key relationships that you need to all be paying attention to, cultivating, managing, and increasing as much as you can. Another element about your campaign plan, and we haven't talked much about it here, but is to actually work your leadership giving prospects. Those individuals who give at a level for individual recognition at a leadership level. That's an important growing element of everybody's United Way campaign. And the bottom line here in creating your campaign plan is knowing where the money is and how you can organize and create relationships to attract it. Because that's essentially our United Way campaign, is drawing people into this grand endeavor of community engagement to support things that are important to us in our community. Thanks for spending a few minutes thinking about your campaign plan and priority. As always, we have more information, we have tools at iauw.org. Thanks. This is Roger, over and out.